You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another post-game show, week 2 post-game show. And you can tell it's a home game because I have no voice. But the Patriots were almost able to pull out a victory at home opener against, man, it's so frustrating. It was such a frustrating game against Seahawks, but it is what it is. Anyways, it's your guy, Pat Lane, as always, here with my man, Matt St. Jean. And Matt, frustrating end to the game, but I think there were some good things at least to take away from it.
First of all, Pat, I'm gonna send you some tea and honey or something after this because boy, do you sound like you need it. Yeah, it's tough because the game hurt because the Patriots played better than we would have expected 2 weeks ago, and it's what makes it so tough to evaluate where the team is right now because they're playing better, I think, than we expected. There are a lot of good signs, and yet you can clearly tell where this team lacks talent-wise right now. Mm-hmm. And, that ended up being the difference maker. The Patriots were probably the better team through the first 55 minutes of the game. But when it was crunch time late, a special teams error kind of evens things out. And it kind of came down to who was the better quarterback from there on. But, we can get into some details. I thought Geno Smith was fantastic today. I thought he was very good. As a game the Patriots could have won, or at least could have been in a better position to win in a number of different ways. But the fact that they didn't make those plays, I don't think should be all that surprising with where the roster stands now. And I also think you got to give a little credit to Seattle. I thought, going back and watching bits, I thought New England's defense played outstanding. And I thought Seattle's offense was just kind of making plays anyway. And sometimes you just tip your cap. That's how football goes.
Yeah. And look, one of the things I was really impressed about with Geno Smith, obviously you had the one coverage breakdown that led to that long DK Metcalf touchdown. But outside of that, the Patriots did not want to give them anything deep. They didn't want to get beat on the big throw, right? Mm-hmm. And so they just said, we're going to let you check down Charlie over there. We're going to let you do it, right? And we're going to bet that you can't do that all game and beat us. And guess what? They did it all game and beat them. And Geno got the ball out of his hand quickly, was accurate with the ball, never gave the Patriots an opportunity to undercut one of those throws, right? A lot of times if you're playing that kind of off coverage or that zone type coverage, if you wait too long or you stare down that receiver, it's going to give the corner an opportunity to get in front of one of those passes. He never did that. He never did that all game long. Never gave the Patriots a chance to really make a play. And hats off to him for doing that. And look, they have JSN and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Those are 3 really good wide receivers. And, Lockett is a guy that is a really savvy veteran guy, right? He had a Marcus Smart flop in the end zone that got them a pass interference call, which I'm sorry that wasn't pass interference, but
what I will say is on the broadcast, Marco Wilson did more than he should have. We'll say he put himself. This is the second week in a row now where he's put himself in a position to let the ref throw the flag.
Right. But it should have never been thrown. But it was thrown because Tyler Lockett sells it. Right. He falls, goes flying out of the end zone as if he got murdered, and he sells it. Right. Gets the other call on John Jones in overtime, which that was an egregious call. You got Mike Reese, all caps tweeting. That doesn't happen very often. It was a bad call. Of course, contributed to the Patriots losing, but it's, still Lockett had some really nice plays. JSN had 12 catches. DK had 12 catches. They were catching all this short underneath stuff. and then maybe breaking a tackle. Patriots were not as good at tackling as the ball carrier as they were last week. And so, that's what happens. And when your offense doesn't move the ball and you're on the field and you're trying to, stop them from scoring any points at all, it becomes challenging.
Well, I thought one of the things that was impressive about Geno Smith, when the Patriots brought a couple of blitzes, a couple of them got home. You get 3 sacks. You got to feel pretty good about the pass rush.
Yeah.
3 sacks on the day. But when the pressure didn't get home, Geno was just finding wherever the soft spot was and punishing it. And, credit to him for that. Most quarterbacks don't do that. Patriots just kind of fell victim to one of those. This is crazy to me, Pat. I'm looking through Geno's stat line. So he's 33 of 44. So it's 11 incompletions. On the broadcast, they said there were 5 drops. So that's 6 incompletions now that are unaccounted for.
On 44 attempts.
The Patriots were credited with 4 passes defensed. So we're talking only maybe 2 off-target passes all game long. And there was a fantasy guy I retweeted earlier who said that the initial charting he saw said 0 off-target passes for Geno Smith. You get pressure, you sack a guy 3 times, you play good defense most of it. If a guy doesn't miss a throw all day, you can't do much about that. And I think it was the story of this game, I think, was that both teams made mistakes. And the Seattle, mostly because of the play of Geno Smith and the offensive line, was much better equipped to punish the mistakes. They punished the blown coverage New England has early with a touchdown. They punished the missed field goal late by driving down the field and kicking a field goal to force overtime. They then go ahead and win it in overtime, where, those last 2 drives, Geno was just hitting everything that he needed to. And the Patriots stalled out a couple times in the red zone where felt like they probably could have gotten points out of it, and obviously settling for a field goal late on, a sack of Jacoby Brissett forces you deeper out of field goal range or deeper into a longer field goal range, and then you end up missing the kick. And just the little plays like that, you go back to last week, and these are the plays that went their way. You get into the red zone, you force a fumble, and you're able to go the other way, and you're able to punish the turnovers the Bengals had. And it's just the opposite way today, and that's why, one of these games is a 1-score win, and one of these is a 1-score loss.
Right. And, what's interesting about it is that, the missed field goal there at the end of the game. And I think there's a lot of people calling for Gerard Mayo's head, right? That Mayo lost in the game, that Mayo's this. And it's like, listen, he's a first-year head coach with a first-year defensive coordinator and a first-year offensive play caller. Like, there's going to be some bumps.
All right? First-year special teams coordinator in the NFL.
Correct. Yep. Did I like the way they handled the end of the first half? Absolutely not. I thought it cost them. It allowed the Seahawks to get 3 points.
Yep.
Feels like that might have helped since they lost by 3 points. Did I like the way they handled the end of the second half? Absolutely not, because you run the ball in the first 2 plays, you go back to pass, and, Brissett ended up getting sacked because you couldn't protect. You knew you couldn't protect. You hadn't protected. The entire second half, he hadn't protected. And you knew that. And so I would have just ran the ball again, wasted more clock, and gone for a field goal. Instead, you're kicking the field goal 8 yards back, 8 or so more yards back, and it gets blocked. Right? And again, you mentioned the first-year special teams coordinator. Well, Austin Hooper is out there on an island with 2 guys. He's trying to block 2 guys at the same time, and Michael Jordan gives him no help. And the guy, beats him on the inside. And it's like, well, what do you.
This is
so, and that's unfortunately, those are the things. There's going to be bumps in the road. It's just the way it is. There's going to be bumps in the road. Like, they have to learn on the job. And those are things that you don't want them to learn in losses. But, like, this team isn't very good. It's going to happen no matter what. And so, like, just be patient. I think we won game 1. And everyone thought, the Patriots are back, baby. They're back. They're going to the playoffs. They're doing this. They're doing that. It's just like, come on. Like, pump the brakes.
Well, the field goal block, I didn't bring it up on our show during the week PFF was like, Patriots have second best special teams unit. And I thought I was nitpicking, and I didn't think it was going to be relevant in this game. But I absolutely picked up on the fact that their blocking on kicks in game 1 against Cincinnati was not good, specifically through the gap where the block came today and the one outside of it. They're not letting guys in up the middle. They're not letting guys in around the edges, but it's just on the wing there where they were having a little bit of trouble getting things blocked up against Cincinnati, and they had one kick almost blocked. I think it might have been the first one. I figured that was minor stuff that they were going to have corrected for this week, and obviously it wasn't. It's you gotta block that up. You have to block from the inside out, most dangerous man. So Austin Hooper, gotta get that guy. If somebody's getting through, you want it to be the guy further away from the ball. So I expect they're going to be working on that quite a bit this week.
You can't give a free rush, though. That guy's getting – if Austin Hooper makes that block, that guy's getting a free rush. It just can't happen.
This is always the issue with the field goal block, too, is that there's always a free rusher because the defense will always have more men able to rush and the offense will have blockers.
Right.
So what they basically tell you there as a blocker on offense – is that you just kind of have to stand there and stick your elbows out and try to clip two guys at the same time. And they just didn't do a good enough job at it. Like, you're going to let somebody... By the way, is
what he did. He got a hand on that guy. It wasn't enough.
Didn't get enough of him. Yeah, right. And that's the issue. You got to get more of him. You got to get more into him and not let him through. And, you can't allow a totally free rusher. Which is what it basically turned into. But yeah, if we want to talk some good stuff, though, I thought the team started off the game pretty strong. Obviously, the first drive didn't work out, but second drive going down the field and getting a touchdown pass. I thought you could clearly see where they had worked on stuff during the week and said, hey, this is what we want to do this week. Going to Jalen Polk right away in the red zone, I thought was an immediate, hey, we watched the film, we saw this, we're going to the guy.
Right.
Brissett looked good. Brissett's pocket awareness today I thought was fantastic, and that helped them throughout. Obviously, Hunter Henry on every possession was outstanding, but especially on that touchdown drive too. Yeah, and that was one of those where, all right, we had guys making plays. You're able to finish in the red zone, and if you're looking for a spot to take some positives away from this, I think there's some sloppiness at the end with the coaching that you'd like to see improved. But if you're coming out against a defense like this, second drive already putting things together in the passing game, they clearly saw some stuff that they wanted to attack and then went out there and executed it. Like, the lulls for this team have been the third quarter so far, which is when the defense has really started to adjust to what you're doing and that talent differential really starts to matter. And that's going to happen. This offense isn't that talented right now. So the fact that you can go out there right away and make some noise, I think and that happened last week too with a long second drive, makes me feel good about Alex Van Pelt, at least, being able to scheme things up.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, that first drive was good, right? You move down the field, you're running the ball with purpose, you're getting the ball to Hunter Henry consistently, which was really good. I was happy to see that. The issue is, and this is, so to me, this is kind of where it comes. You start to look at it, and you look at the big picture. You don't have the weapons on offense, and you don't have the offensive line. I believe, and I don't remember who, somebody tweeted it, and it's been retweeted by a bunch of different people. I thought it was Doug Kyde, but I'm not 100% sure. On the PFF's initial watch, they dropped back to pass 33 times, and 16 times they allowed a pressure. 16 out of 33 is not good. You cannot be giving up a pressure on 50% of the dropbacks. You just can't. It can't happen. Brissett did a really nice job of avoiding a lot of that, getting out of plays, extending plays, things like that. But that's the issue for me, was that he's under duress all day long. Now, is that the reason why he refuses to push the ball down the field? I don't know. You would assume that that's part of it, right? Because he knows that he doesn't have the time, or feels that he doesn't have the time. And so he doesn't want to do that. I don't know. But I will tell you, and Mayo said it after the game, we need to push the ball down the field. They weren't. It's not like they weren't guys running deeper routes. There were guys that were running deeper routes. Brissett just doesn't throw it to them. And like, you can blame Alex Van Pelt all you want, but it's like, if the guy's there, he won't make the throw. What's the OC supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and so, and that's the issue. And by the way, before everyone starts talking about, Kingsley Suamata Ti, or whatever the hell his last name is, he got benched in the Chiefs game this week, in week 2.
Yeah.
So, it's not like, oh, I can't believe it took Jalen Bolka instead of Kingsley. Well, I mean, like, maybe it would have worked, maybe it wouldn't have. But like, everyone's struggling on the offensive line right now. The Patriots are too. It's a serious problem that they have to deal with. Right now, I don't know what the fix is.
Yeah. Well, and I do think part of it, Jacoby Brissett mentally just looks like he's processing things a little bit slower out there right now.
I think so too. Yeah.
And I think it showed up on the broadcast. Like, I think there were times where it looked like he is trying to push the ball down the field a little bit. He's just not seeing it. And then by the time he's done processing that, he's coming back to an underneath throw. And at that point, it might be a little bit too late because the defense has already collapsed on it, or the pocket has collapsed on him. And I gotta go see what the tape looks like when it comes to the receivers. But the 16 pressures on 33 dropbacks, I mean, you can't run an offense that way.
No,
you just like, not. And I will say, like, that's because we're going to talk about when this Drake may play every one of these, especially when Jacoby Brissett has a tough game.
Right.
This is where it's tough, because on one hand, I think you can look at the 16 for 33 and say you can't put Drake May behind this offensive line. On the other hand, I think you can look at it and say Drake May is not afraid to push the ball and is fast and is athletic. And that means that some of the time he's going to be getting the ball out before that pressure gets there because he wants to push it. And the other half is going to be him trying to create plays with his legs that Jacoby Brissett just can't do. So that some of these pressures do turn into positive plays for you, either because he's running or he's extending plays with his legs and then making a play with his arm. Which direction that would go, we can't know at this point. That's up to the coaches and where they feel like Drake May is with his progression. Does he see things clearly in this environment right now, or does he not? The only people who know the answer to that question are, probably in an office somewhere in the bowels of Gillette Stadium watching game film as we speak. So I'm curious to see when the switch happens. I do think that Gerard Mayo mentioning having to push the ball down the field more, if that's your goal at the quarterback position and you're upset with the status quo, you have a guy who wants to do that with your number 3 overall pick. And I know that we've talked about that week 5 date for New England. I think week 4 is at play here, because if you go to New York on Thursday and things don't go well, you have a long week to go figure this out and prep a rookie starter. And you also, the fact that it's San Francisco on the road is tough. Also, the fact that it's San Francisco on the road could be freeing. Nobody expects you to win. It's a road game. It's like everybody expects it to get out of hand. You almost get a freebie where nobody expects it to go well before you come home and play in front of your fans and get judged by the New England faithful for the first time in a game where people might think you can win it. So
it's a good point.
I think Brissett's pocket awareness has been a huge plus, but the rest of his game right now has me questioning.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what it comes down to. The biggest thing with Drake May is that, and I got into an argument with a guy at the stadium about this today. He plays when he's ready. Drake May plays when he's ready. I don't care if the Patriots go 1-16. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If Drake May isn't ready, he doesn't play. Period. Full stop. That's it. He plays when he's ready. Now that's what the offensive line, that's what the offensive coaches and the coaching staff in general to decide. That's what you do. If they look at it and say he's getting 30% of the first team reps, he's looking really good against a really tough defense, the Patriots defense, playing in systems that change every week, right? I'm okay with that, right? If they feel like he's ready to go, He's ready to go, and put him out there. But again, and I know the offensive line, and you're right, the offensive line's a mess. But I do think that his ability to move around is a little bit better than Jacoby's, and I think his pocket awareness is good. Jacoby's pocket awareness is good, but beyond that, he doesn't threaten the defense in any way. Right? They're going to go to I'm telling you right now, they're going to go to New Jersey on Thursday night, and the Jets are going to have 8-9 guys in the box, and they're going to say, "Go ahead and throw the ball down the field. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're going to 0-man blitz you 12 times. Now what? What are we talking about? You're gonna throw the ball down the field on us? No chance, right? And the Jets again have a secondary that's good enough to do that. They have Sauce Gardner. They can just erase one guy, right? And so it's like, okay, you're gonna go 1-on-1 against our second corner? Okay, good luck. You haven't been willing to do it yet. Maybe you can't do it at all. And maybe it takes Drake May to say, "Nah, I can do it." Maybe he can, maybe he can't. I don't know. I don't know if he even can. But that's, that's to me is what the Patriots have to think about. And again, so that's the biggest thing for me. You don't play him when he's ready. That's it.
And I think that this is going to be, the two sources of tension on the whole thing are going to be trying to navigate not playing him before he's ready to be out there. We don't know what that looks like to them. We don't know where he is in that process. And then navigating the team dynamics of everybody on that roster knows they've got the shiny new toy that's going to get unwrapped at some point. And the longer you go with the offense not being able to push the ball down the field, and I don't want to trash Brissett here. He's not bad, but he is,
he's a backup. He's starter best.
He's quarterback 29 of the starters. Right. That's where he falls in this group. He was brought in to be a transitional quarterback. Everybody knows the deal here. It's going to happen at some point. All of the players know that. And if the players start getting antsy about not making the switch, then you can run into culture issues in year one of a new head coach. So those are your two things, and you have to navigate those. And that's why plans can go out the window, because if they lose the next 3 games, even if they don't think Drake May is ready, the offense stinks. They might just say, well, we're going to put him out there because we need to show the team that we're trying to win. That's the way this league works. And, to a degree, I definitely think good quarterbacks are going to be good. I think nurturing matters. I think development matters. But I also think the guys who end up being good quarterbacks, when they get thrown in there, it works. I mean, go back a little bit. Remember that one game when Jordan Love had to step in for Aaron Rodgers in 2021, I think, or whatever it was. It was a game in Philly. It might have been 2022, but he had to step in for him, and he played pretty well. And that wasn't the plan. I think it was, I don't remember if it was an injury or what. But he went in and he looked good, and nobody was expecting it. But now that's how CJ Stroud last year were the bad team looking good. And now you see where the Texans are. I'm not as worried about some of the situational stuff around what's around Drake May at this point, because the receivers, while not great, are capable. I don't think this receiving core is bottom. I don't know if it's bottom 5 anymore. The tight ends can get work. The running backs can get work in the passing game too. There are options there. Good quarterbacks make those options look better too. So I think if Drake May is real, there'll be issues still, but you'd still be able to tell right now. Right.
2 things. Rusty says Bo Nix was thrown in for the Broncos playing like trash. Yeah, that's because Bo Nix stinks, but that's okay.
And the Broncos also stink, and I think Sean Payton is in way over his head there.
Oh yeah, big time. And I don't like Bo Nix, but that's just me. And then so KG says stop worrying about winning the season. And I've already said, I'm not worried about winning the season. But the point that you made is the important point that we have to remember. I might not be worried about winning the season. And you might not be, and the fans might not be. But the players that are on the team, they care about winning this year. They don't know what their NFL future holds for them. They don't. And if they play on a trash team with trash players and they feel like you're not putting them in the best position to win games, they're going to get pissed. And like you said, that could create a problem in the locker room. And you don't want to do that. You're a first-year head coach. The whole thing that you've been trying to build is culture. And you're going to get into the situation where the rest of the team looks around and says, Drake May clearly gives us the best chance to win right now, and you're not playing him because you're worried about next year. Screw that. I'm here right now. We have to try to win right now. So I may not feel that way, but the 51 other guys in the locker room sure as hell feel that way.
All
And
those guys on 1-year contracts?
100%. And you're going to lose those guys if you don't play the best quarterback. Now, right now, Jacoby Brissett might still be the best quarterback. If he has another 2-3 games like this, well, I think there's a pretty good argument he isn't the best quarterback anymore. And I think that's really the issue that I look at.
Yeah. And then it comes down to where is Drake May in his progression. Because if they think that Drake May got to a good point, but they wanted to start with Jacoby and let Drake May ease in, I think you can see May as early as week 4 if they go and lose week 3. Mm-hmm. If Drake May isn't there yet, then I think they're going to try to stretch this out with Brissett and make it credible that they think he's their best starter for as long as possible. But, if they're unable to pass the ball again like they were today for the next 3-4 weeks, the noise is going to get loud outside the building. And no matter what your plan is, that noise pretty much always ends up making a difference at some point. The only time I could think of where a team that really wasn't that good, like, waited on their quarterback is Jared Goff with the Rams. So maybe that is your best case kind of, thing to point at. But, I mean, he was a guy who still played back half of the season. I think Drake May is going to play at least that early because I think with his mobility, he's going to give you the best chance to win behind this line, and the players in that locker room are going to know that. And the fact that he can be under pressure and still throw the ball pretty far, pretty accurately, you need guys who can do that. That's the only way you're going to be able to run an offense with this team, because offensive line, barring some in-season development, it's not getting fixed this year.
Right. I agree with you. And look, here's the other thing to remember. Drake May is not going to come in and be this magic cure that the Patriots are all of a sudden going to have a top 10 offense in the league. That's not the case. But what you're not going to have, hopefully, is 5 total targets to wide receivers. 3 total catches by wide receivers for 19 yards all game long. That can't happen. I'm sorry. That cannot happen. Jacoby Brissett attempted 24 throws. 5 of them were towards wide receivers. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Yeah. I mean, that can't happen. I was walking out, and I forget what year it was with the Chiefs. It was before Reed got there.
This is 2013 when they didn't have a wide receiver touchdown.
Yeah, was it 2013? They didn't have a wide receiver touchdown all year long. It was like impossible. It was impossible to not have a wide receiver touchdown all year long. And of course, Patriots aren't going to do that. They had a wide receiver touchdown today, but it's just at some point you got to throw the guys. And look, I understand AVP's new and this thing's like Pop Douglas is the best player on your offense, the best receiver on your offense. He's the best receiving threat on your offense. Get him the ball. If that means you got to throw quick screens to him outside or run him on a bubble or what, I don't care. Get him, put the ball in his hands and see what he can do.
And they clearly understand this because every time he's on the field, they have him in motion doing something, trying to use him as a threat. They just spent 2 games and I haven't cashed that in yet. And I would have figured you'd try to do that pretty early. I think they're still trying to figure out exactly how to mesh their personnel too, because like a receiver like a Pop Douglas is not necessarily the kind of receiver that fits in the mold of an AVP style offense. Now, there's a reason that they like a guy like Jalen Polk as a slot player because of his run blocking and his physicality, and Pop Douglas isn't that. So I think they are still figuring out the best way to use him out there. But you have to figure it out because he's good. He's good with the ball in his hands. He can make guys miss. He's a threat underneath and in the intermediate area of the field. Yeah, and it's the wide receiver rotation is still one of those things that feels very uncomfortable at this point because it almost seems to not matter which of the receivers is on the field. At times, you don't notice when they're switching guys out because it doesn't seem to make an impact. They're trying to balance developing young players with having steady play from veterans, and that balance is only going to get murkier when Kendrick Bourne is back. You saw Javon Baker get thrown into the mix just a little bit today, but I think they're still figuring it out, which is fine. It's September. These are young players. I don't expect this to get figured out fully until probably November because Bourne's going to be back and guys will get hurt and they're going to be switching things up, and then May will come in, and it's going to be in flux for a while. But at a certain point, you do want the coaches to figure out which guys they want out there and how they want to use them. And with that, you want the young players to develop and separate, prove why you should be out there. Pop Douglas, if you're upset with your usage out there, go make some plays. Jalen Polk made a play today. Continue to do that. Javon Baker, go make some plays. Tyquan Thornton, go make some plays. You want to get more reps, the opportunities are going to be there for you. So,
yeah.
You need a quarterback that'll throw them.
It's certainly true. It's certainly true. So we'll see what they do. Also, someone in the chat mentioned Joe Mixon. Looks like clear hip drop tackle against Joe Mixon. They literally put the rule in this year for them to call it. Mixon got hurt on the play and then didn't call it.
Yeah,
it's like, why even have the rules? You're not gonna. What are we doing?
I don't think they called it in the preseason. I don't know. That's weird.
So it's a mess. So, anyways, and look, the Patriots have a long way to go. I thought and no one should have been surprised by this, by the way, but what I looked at was the Patriots won last week. They played well, and everyone immediately had unrealistic expectations. Immediately thought Patriots are back. They're going to win. And I was like, okay, pump the brakes. I was nervous. I was worried about today. I thought because the Patriots played so well last weekend that Seattle was going to come in ready to play, not be surprised by the Patriots' physicality, and have some sort of plan, which they did. They executed it perfectly. And they just made good plays offensively and defensively. They did a nice job at shutting things down. And even, first half, Hunter Henry's killing them. They threw for 32 yards in the second half. 32 yards in the second half. Yep. And why did they do that? Because they had because they bracketed Hunter Henry. And when Henry wasn't open, he had no one else to go to. And so, again, is that him not wanting to throw down the field? Is that him not hitting guys? That I don't know. I will tell you, just being there, it seemed like there were guys open and he wasn't throwing it to them. Not wide open, but NFL open, right? He had Polk open on a crossing route, and I don't remember if it was in the first half or the second half. He was sprinting out to the right, and he had Polk coming across on like an over. And he had his guy beat by 3 steps, and he just threw it in the dirt in front of him. And it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, he got to hit him there, I'm
excited to get this film tomorrow to see what the receivers look like.
Yeah, and so that's what's going to take. What do they look like? Because I will tell you, Jalen Polk was wide open all week last week. Was he not wide open all week this week? I don't know. Seahawks have a really good secondary, He
hit 2 of the 3 catches by receivers today. Yeah. Well, I do think that from a grand scheme sort of view here, like Seattle's secondary is good, very good, well coached, complex. Even if their receivers open, I think good quarterbacks are going to struggle to find them in the secondary. But I'm not going to ring too many alarm bells here because of the fact that the secondary is very good and our receivers are not, and I wouldn't expect a huge passing day here. But at some point you have to be able to throw the ball, and that's not going to happen next week when you got to go up against that Jets secondary. Yeah. 49ers secondary looks pretty good as of right now. That defense is playing well. Well, maybe not so against the Vikings, but I have to actually dig into that game. I only saw Justin Jefferson's long touchdown, so I don't know if the Patriots have a player that's going to do that, but that secondary I think might have some issues. But
Did you see the wheels on the ref? Who
yes, it did.
Get that man a contract. My goodness.
Ref. He could come out and play receiver for the Pats tomorrow.
Yeah.
But, at some point, you'd like to be able to move the ball down the field through the air. And schedule sets up tough for that at the beginning of the year here. But, at some point, you got to do it. It's the NFL. Right. Everybody's good. At some point, you got to find a way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Let's do a quick ad, and then we'll get back to this. This one's going to be for Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, in September, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 free weeks of W's. Again, you got to win 2 to 6. You put Caleb in there and 1 other pick. All you got to do is that one. You know you're getting the Caleb one. So a free win, can't beat it. You can also win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Now this week, unfortunately I took an L this week. I had gone with the Caleb, of course, and I went Lamar Jackson with more than 56.5 rushing yards and Justin Herbert with more than 217.5 passing yards, both of which were wrong, unfortunately. Justin Herbert, I think, finished with like 130. They scored over 20 points and he had 130 yards passing. Not what you're looking for, but it is what it is. But anyways, that's what I had this week. Hopefully, we'll keep playing and we'll hit a few next week. But what you're going to do is download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's the code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, Matt, do you want to get into maybe some positives? We talked a lot about negatives.
We can talk about the defense. We talked a lot about the offense. But.
Yeah, I think defensively, first of all, Keon White, golly, Keon White. He's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Look, at last year, his best game was the opener, and then he just kind of progressively trailed off from there the rest of the way. So I was excited after week 1, but I was tempering it a little bit because I wanted to see him do it again.
Yeah.
He did it again. His 4 sacks in 2 games to start the year. His physicality is noticeable. It jumps off the tape. We weren't the only ones seeing it. That the national writers were commenting on it all game long about how obvious it was that he stood out, which is fantastic. And whenever Barmore returns, that is going to be an amazing duo on the inside.
Yeah.
So talk about pushing the pocket on the interior. Those 2 guys are going to be so much fun there.
Yeah.
And other than that, I thought the defense was good. You have a blown coverage,
right?
Which is tough. It seemed like, if I read it correctly, Kyle Duggar kind of took the blame for that after the game.
He said they called it blitz defense, blitz coverage defense, and that was on him.
I think he was supposed to have a deep responsibility, but he thought because of the blitz, the ball was going to come out quick. He could cheat up and try to make a play, and just got burned.
Yeah. And that's, clearly, if you watch the replay, Gonzalez never even turns his hips. He's in that spot covering that hook zone. He never even thinks about going with DK. He knows he gets someone over the top, and he doesn't, unfortunately. And so, Duggar takes responsibility. Whether it was Duggar or not, I don't know. Duggar just might be taking responsibility just because.
He's the vet there.
Right. But either way, it was blown coverage for sure, obviously.
Yeah. And I thought the Patriots brought an exotic array of blitzes that are good blitzes and just didn't happen to work against Geno Smith because he did a very good job against them. Run defense was electric once again. Pass coverage just wasn't quite where it needs to be. Obviously part of that, we talked a lot about how well Geno played today, but I think you want to see everybody step up a little bit. There's no one player that stood out as the only player in the secondary through 2 games that has stood out as not having a good play as Marco Wilson. I'd like to see more Alex Austin going forward. Outside of that, I think it's just growing through this and getting a little bit better on the back end. It's very rarely do you allow 33 completions in a game for 327 yards and a touchdown and feel good about your coverage, but I still feel pretty good about my coverage.
Yeah. Well, and I think a big thing for me was, and I mentioned it already, but I felt like the Patriots were saying, we'll let you dink and dunk, right? And we don't think that you can do it. And we think that you're going to throw a bad pass, or you're going to wait too long to throw to a guy and we're going to be able to pick you off, or any number of those different things. And Gino was flawless. He was fantastic. He made every single throw he could make. He extended plays. Raekwon McMillan had a great blitz right up the middle. And Gino just broke contain and threw a nice pass to DK on a comeback outside. Just like, what are you gonna do? Like, there's just not, you can't do anything about that. He comes up the A gap, he runs out wide, beats the contain guy there, and and it is what it is. I mean, there's just nothing you can do. Guy made a nice play, and he did another one later on when he threw to, I think it was Noah Fan or DK. I don't remember, but when DK was coming across the field, he runs up, draws the defender to him, and then just pops it over the top of him. And those are things that what are you gonna do? There's just nice plays, and unfortunately, you give those plays up. Sometimes the offense is just better, and the offense was better in this game today. And I think overall, though, I was pleased with the way the defense played. Obviously, you didn't see the opportunistic side of it, but they didn't allow that, right? The Seahawks played well enough that you weren't sitting there saying, man, the Patriots had opportunities and, really didn't capitalize. There really weren't many opportunities to really do anything. It's not like they dropped any interceptions or anything like that. Like, they were playing off man. They're playing, off zone coverage for the most part. And, unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. And I think kind of defensively, games like this today are why you invest in somebody like Drake May, because in the NFL at this point in time, like, receivers are all pretty good. Quarterbacks are all pretty good. Like,
right.
You can have good days and still get dunked on, which happened. And you need to have somebody who's that good on your team to match it sometimes, just to win a game. You still only gave up 23 points in an overtime game. So it's not like you're giving up anything crazy.
Right.
Some of those came off of shorter, like, not short field, but that exchange before halftime where they just lost a ton of field position from one punt to the next punt. So you end up with a shorter field defensively, and that turns into a field goal. It's just they played well. You only allowed 20 points. Need the offense to do a little bit more, and then I think the defense ran out of gas down the stretch.
Right.
They got a huge stop on 3rd and 1 on the last drive of regulation to force the field goal attempt there. The Seahawks possession. Outside of that, it felt like they were just running out of gas. And I also think that's where, not having Christian Barmore is massive. And hopefully the conditioning improves a little bit during the season.
You would certainly hope so. You mentioned the punts, by the way. It was another day of just incredible punting on both sides. Yeah. Michael Dixon, 5 punts, 53.8 average with a long of 61. He was solid. Bryce Behringer, 6 punts with an average of, are you ready for this? 57 yards was the average punt for Bryce Behringer. A long of 67, 1 touchback, 3 punts inside the 20-yard line. Just incredible. Just incredible. And those are the types of things where you look at it and just think, obviously, whatever, does it matter in the grand scheme of things? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Whatever. But, when you have a guy like that that can do that, the punting has been sensational by the Patriots and even, by their opponents the first 2 weeks of the season. And so you're giving the team a chance on a team where you're struggling and you don't have a great offense. You need every single advantage you can get. And having a punter that can do that on a weekly basis, I think he averaged over 50 last week as well. And so, to have a guy that can do that on a weekly basis is huge. And so 100% is a weapon. So it's it's the way it goes. And look, I do think that defensively they were good. They were fine. They weren't great, but they were fine. They did enough, I thought. I do question why Marco Wilson is getting all of those fourth corner snaps, and it's not going to guys like Alex Austin or Sean Wade. Because as you said, he's the guy that I think everyone can point to and say, like, yeah, he just hasn't been it so far.
Well, but Sean Wade is no longer a Patriot.
Oh, you're right. They cut him, didn't they? You're right. So it's Alex Austin. Is it Marcellus Dial? Is Dial still on the team?
Dial, yeah, because he's one of their special teams guys. It's it's Austin and Wilson for that fourth corner spot. I'm surprised they're giving them as much run as they have, because it's been like we've seen Jonathan Jones come out quite a bit, and Jonathan Jones has been substantially better than the next corner. Obviously you got to maintain your depth. I was just talking about the endurance, but also Jones played well, and I think you'd want to see more of him out there. So
yeah,
I'm curious how this goes when they face the Jets this week, a team that I really don't think has a ton of depth in the receiver core at the moment. Mike Williams really isn't playing a lot, so it's Garrett Wilson, and that's going to be Christian Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. After that,
Alan Lazard, I guess.
Alan Lazard, Malachi Corley. I don't know if he's really doing much for them at this point.
I think he had one catch today. Did he have a catch today?
Yeah.
I think he did.
And I'm not like Malachi Corley is a yak guy. I'm not super concerned about who they're going to put on him at this point. Lazard is interesting from a physicality standpoint, but I think you can put Jonathan Jones on him. I think he'll cover him fine.
I agree.
Good position. I agree. And I think you're going to see, this is the way the Patriots are this year. You're going to see a ton of zone coverage. That's the way that they are playing this year. I think it makes a ton of sense with the way the league is, the way this team is built. So you may not necessarily see as much of that, one-on-one man. You're going to see complicated stuff pre-snap that turns into a zone after the snap. So you get interesting matchups like we saw today with Joshua Uche down the field with DK Metcalf or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was interesting. But,
hey, yo, what happens? By the way, we're talking defense and ups. Jalen Hawkins made some good plays around the ball today.
He made a really nice play. I think it was on third down.
It was one of the early third downs.
Yeah, I believe it was a throw to JSN, kind of deep down the field to the middle of the field. And he just I don't know if it was a double crosser, but there were two guys coming across the middle, and first guy passes, and Hawkins just flew up, made a really nice instinctful play, and knocked the ball away. Really nice play by him. One of the things I like about sitting in the end zone is you can see that happening. I could see him coming across, and he's got a step on the guy behind him, and you can see Hawkins just trigger forward. Before the ball is thrown, he gets there, perfect timing, and knocks the ball away. And it was just, those are cool plays that you can see, because you're sitting in the end zone. And so those are the things that, one of the reasons I love sitting in the end zone. It's the all 22 view, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm trying to think of, okay, I got a question for you on this.
Yes.
The two decisions, in overtime, the play call on the third down, and then the decision to punt on the fourth down. Where did you land on those two?
So someone asked a question about that, and I started. Matt, actually, I'm not going for it 4-1 in OT. Look, here's the thing. I would have tried to throw a pass at some point in overtime. The problem is you threw for 32 yards in the second half, right? You couldn't block. You couldn't pass block. You were talking about overtime, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Because I thought I heard you there, and then I was like, maybe I didn't. Yeah, okay. So you couldn't pass. You couldn't. And so I didn't mind the run call on 3rd and 4. I obviously would have liked to see them pass instead, but I didn't mind it. And then on 4th and 1, you're at, I didn't. I just feel like if you go for that on 4th and 1 and you don't get it, the game's over. Right? Like if you punt, well, then you give your defense a chance, right? You give your defense an opportunity to make a stop. And I think that to me is a message to your defense that we think you can win this game for us. We think you can go from there. And they weren't able to, unfortunately. And part of that was a bad call on John Jones. But I just think I would not have gone for it on 4th and 1 and where were they at the 39 or something like that? Like
They're on 39. Yeah.
That to me is just you lose. If you don't get it, you lose. Yeah. And that I'm not putting the game on a 4th and 1 on an offensive line that has been struggling in the second half. And we just ran it 3 straight times and didn't pick up a first down. So that's the issue for me.
Yeah. The 3rd down call, first of all, the execution has to be better pre-snap.
100%. Yeah.
Caden Wallace has to know that he's eligible on that play and has to call in that way. Because if they get it, it's coming back. So that's your first issue. But the design
by the way, Gerard Mayo said that was on him. Gerard Mayo said that there should have been a wide receiver that was covering him up, and that wasn't on Caden Wallace. That's what he said. Now, whether he's just covering for his rookie offensive tackle, I don't know. But he said at his press conference that was on the coaching staff that there should have been a wide receiver out there, and there wasn't.
Yeah.
So
all right. So I guess that was wrong. The design of the play was and I'm curious if this Vidarian Lowe gets hurt right at the end of regulation. So I'm curious. They only had 2 tackles at that point. The play that they ran was tackle over. So you take the left tackle and you put him outside of the right tackle, and then you're putting your tight end at left tackle. So you're making the offensive line stronger on one side and weaker on the other.
Right.
The idea being you're just going to run behind one of the sides. I do wonder if Vidarian Lowe is healthy at this point, if this is just a 6 offensive lineman play. That didn't they technically Hunter Henry at left tackle here had no impact on the success of the play.
Right.
But they did that with Ramondre Stevenson in the backfield on the right side, and they motioned Tyquan Thornton into the backfield on the left side. And the idea, I think, they did like a fake pitch almost set up to Tyquan Thornton going out the right side and then handed it to Ramondre going up the middle. And I think they were trying to sell to the defense, hey, we're putting all the heavy guys on the right side, and we're going to put a fast guy in the backfield, and he's going to start sprinting to the right side and trying to get the defense flowing in that direction just to run it back to the other side and hopefully find a crease.
Right.
The problem was that Michael Onwenu did not have a good block on the play. He got pushed back a little bit. Ramondre couldn't get a full head of steam. It's a linebacker in the hole who doesn't get fooled by the movement at all and doesn't have enough momentum to push through for the first down. I like the idea. I think that's a really cool play design. I don't think that's getting too cute with it, personally, especially when you're down where you are an offensive lineman. I think it just didn't work. That said, when they went with the 7 offensive lineman package before with Nick Leverett in the backfield, that worked. So maybe they just should have gone out there and done that on 3rd down and said, we're just going to bully you right through this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, those are things we don't have the answer to, right? Is there, could they have done something differently? Maybe. Could they have, what could they have done? But again, it's one of those things. And now the other thing I'm interested in, it's a short week. Vidarian Lowe went down with an injury, couldn't finish the game. Mm-hmm. There's a real chance that he's not ready for Thursday. And if he's not ready for Thursday, does that then mean that, Caden Wallace gets to start at left tackle on Thursday night.
It has to be. You don't have anybody else. The only
Right.
other guy is we haven't even gotten into the Chuks Okorafor thing, which we can touch, at the end here after the ad break. But it would have to be Caden Wallace. The only other guy you have is DeMontre Jacobs, and
Right.
they just claimed him. He's not ready.
Yeah.
He was a healthy scratch today.
So now you're talking about Caden Wallace getting the start at left tackle against the Jets, against a good Jets defense.
Baptism by fire.
But if he looks good, you sit there and say, all right, we got a guy.
Sometimes you got to find out you can do something by just throwing yourself out there and doing it. So we'll see what happens if that's the case. On the fourth down decision, I was right there with you. I was very surprised to see Patriots fans in general upset about the decision.
Didn't make any sense. Yeah.
Because this isn't like the Cowboys game a couple of years ago. You're definitely in your own territory. You don't get it, you lose. And defense had been playing well. You only allowed 3 points in the second half to Seattle. The defense played very well in the second half when they had to.
Right.
I was a little bit shocked that they gave up ground as easily on that last possession as they did. And that's when it really started to feel like the Dallas game in 2021, where you give the ball away in overtime and you just know you're never seeing it back when you saw the way Seattle was moving, which was partially helped by a controversial pass interference call. I will say, in live time on the broadcast, I thought it was at least close. I thought it was PI. On the replay, it definitely didn't look like it. I can see why the ref threw the flag, but that is brutal to have that happen. And once it was there, Seattle they just had to move the ball a little bit, and they were in field goal range, and that's so tough for defense to deal with there. You can't give up any ground when a team has that much field to work with. It's almost impossible ask. So, I didn't have any issues with the decision to punt. Maybe I go back and revisit that third down play, but it's not the same as like Bailey Zappi in overtime against the Packers. But there was a little bit of you go to overtime and you're down to your rookie at left tackle trying to make things work. And the offense has been kind of stagnant for most of the second half. And I mean, they did look good at points in the fourth quarter, but you're trying to figure something out. And it just doesn't work out for you. Well, I think to a certain extent, it's just you played, like I said before, you played 2 close games in a row. In one of them, the bang-bang plays happened to go your way, and you're able to finish out with some physical runs. In this one, they didn't. They're going to play another close game later this season, and they're going to have at least one more where it does go their way. Well, that's the way this thing tends to work out. So I think you just got to sit with it and wait for the next game.
Right. And that's part of the hard stuff. You know what I mean? And it's challenging. And look, am I comfortable with Caden Wallace playing left tackle? Not necessarily. But it's a trial by fire, and you just see what you get. I'm not expecting him to be great, but I don't know. You never know. And I don't know. I don't know what you're going to get. I will tell you, I think that you have just as good a chance with him at left tackle as you do with Kingsley at left tackle, who got benched today, who was a second-round pick. I feel like for me, whatever. It is what it is. I just feel like we're not. I'm over the draft day speculation about questioning picks and all that other crap. But for me, I look at it and just think this is where the Patriots have an opportunity to make something happen. And maybe Wallace goes in there and looks okay. And now you say, okay, we feel pretty good about Caden Wallace at left tackle. By the way, the Bears just had one of the dumbest challenges I've ever seen. I just don't. I don't get it. It was clearly incomplete, and they challenged it anyways. And it was like it looked really cool, but it was clearly hit the ground and then moved. I just don't. It just made no sense. It made absolutely no sense. But it is what it is. So, anyways, look, I mean, unfortunately, this is where we're at, right? And we can get pissed about it and say, oh, well, he's no good and he's this and he's that. And it's like, well, the other options on the board were Patrick Paul, who isn't playing for Miami, who isn't starting, I guess, at least for Miami, and and Kingsley, who got benched today for the Chiefs. So like, what
It's hard to find good offensive linemen.
That's one of those things. Now, if they had been drafting at 28 and they didn't take Tyler Guyton, who is starting for Dallas, now we can second guess. But literally, the next offensive tackle taken after Jalen Polk was taken was Patrick Paul at the end of the second round, and then it was Kingsley 2 picks later. So, like, what do you want me to say?
And there's Karan Amagashi, who I don't know if he's healthy at this point. I'm not even sure that. I haven't heard his name at all.
Right. Roger Rosengarten, who hasn't been playing, is a backup. Went in for the Ravens last week in the first game of the season and looked horrendous when he went in. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of offensive lines that are struggling out there right now. Patriots are one of them.
If you want a true left tackle franchise guy, you're really only finding those guys if you're drafting in the top. If you're picking them in the top 20, that's correct. Really, and sometimes in the 20s, depending on how the draft goes. But once you're drafting guys in the 20s, they have flaws, and you're just banking on your coaching being able to coach them up. And sometimes it doesn't work.
Right.
So, yeah. Do we want to do my ad read? And
then let's do the ad read, and then we'll kind of finish. Finish up a little bit. We'll talk about the Okorafor stuff, and then get out of here.
Yeah. All right. Time for me to jump into the big screen here. Hello, everyone. It's just my face up here now. I'm going to be at the Patriots game this Thursday. I'm pretty sure I haven't bought the tickets yet, but when I do buy the tickets, you know what I'm going to use, Pat? I'm going to use Game Time. Buy my Patriots tickets. I'm so excited to go to my first game of the season. Living in New York, I always go when the Patriots come to town. Game Time makes it so easy to do that. Filter out the fluff for you. You only see great deals on great seats. It's so much faster. For this game this week, there's all kinds of tickets available right now with super deals where you can just click a button and see exactly what the view is going to be from your seats. You know exactly what you're getting into. Yeah, it's easy. It's cheap. You hit the all-in button. You can see what the price is going to be with all of the fees included. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. And with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Just take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, you create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Oh, yeah. All right. Chuks Okorafor is the first thing we got to talk about. He's gone. He's on the left the team. Now, the same thing happened with Matt Corral last year. Matt Corral did not tell the team what was going on last year.
Stopped showing up.
Yep. And Okorafor did tell the team what was going on this year. So, obviously, there are questions about why he's not here. We don't really know. Mike Reese's opinion is that he won't be playing for the Patriots anymore this year. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But, I do think that when you look at it and you say, okay, well, he got benched halfway through the first game of the season, not even halfway through, in the second quarter of the first game of the season, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. And so, it's where it is. And I wonder if he, A, is pissed that he got benched for the Patriots and doesn't want to be here anymore, or B, if he's questioning whether he wants to play football at all anymore.
Which is there are indications that way, and I do think it puts the situation in week one in more context. It is not often that you see an offensive lineman without an injury issue come out of the game in the middle of a drive.
Yeah,
and it does make me wonder if he wasn't so much benched as he pulled himself from the game. We don't know, and I don't expect us to know. I don't think the team is going to throw him under the bus. I thought Gerard Mayo talking about this was incredibly gracious and graceful in handling it. Talked about wanting to handle Chuks, the human first. And maybe his heart's not in this anymore. We've seen this happen where guys go through training camp and then there's like, well, I'm out, or get to a game and say, yeah, I don't have it anymore. I'm out. Who is that? Is that Bill's defensive player who quit at halftime of week
Yeah, I
one
forget who it
a
was, but
couple
yes.
years ago.
Yep.
So maybe it's one of those situations where, he's just done. Maybe he takes the weekend off, says, yeah, no, I want to give us another go. But it is what it is. I think Vidarian
Right.
Lowe, like, when it comes to on-field play, I think Vidarian Lowe has outplayed him at left tackle. It hurts you for your depth. It hurts you for your flexibility. But we all want to see Caden Wallace. So this frees up more reps, more opportunity for Wallace to get into the game, which is even more true with Vidarian Lowe banged up during this one. Demontre Jacobs, somebody that they had claimed off of waivers.
Huge
Another
guy.
interesting name to see what he turns into. I will say they were kind of in a weird spot with Okorafor, where if they didn't like him at left tackle, he's a right tackle only. He just kind of becomes your backup right tackle. But if you also don't like Caden Wallace at left tackle, you now have one left tackle and three right tackles. And
Right.
one of those right tackles is somebody you would like to develop into a good player. So then, is Okorafor going to be just a healthy scratch for you if that's the case?
Correct.
I don't know if that was a possibility here and that played into it. Not going to speculate too much on it because I'm assuming this is a sensitive situation and we'll let them handle that internally. But a lot of different things that could go into this, and the result now is that the Patriots are going to be relying on their young guys at tackle, and the play might not be good, but this is kind of what we wanted anyway, to get an opportunity for these guys to play.
And that's the point, right? That's the point. This is what they wanted to see, right? They wanted to see what it looked like. Can these guys play? I just, and I don't know, right? We'll see, right? But can these guys play? How good are they? Are we going to look at this and say, all right, we're good. We're good, right? And, and we can say, all right, we feel good about the guys that we have. Or they're going to look at it and say, yeah, no, this isn't it, right? And I'll tell you, this game today, to me, is an indictment on Mike Onwenu, the right tackle. I think Mike Onwenu, the right guard, is really good. I think Mike Onwenu, the right tackle, is mediocre, maybe a little bit above average. But I'd rather have a really good right guard than a slightly above average right tackle. It's just me.
And then you get
Especially
into
if Caden Wallace can be that starting right tackle for you next year.
well, then this gets into the situation of what happened with Layden Robinson.
Right.
If you
Yep.
Onwenu back inside, and one of the big issues for the offensive line right now is I think you got more pieces that you feel good about on the right side than the left.
Yep. And listen, if that's the case, then it's him and City So fighting for that left guard spot. Right? To me, that's one of those things where I look at it and say, okay, great. Then me and City So can battle it out for left guard, and whoever loses the backup. Right? And when you kind of go from there, I mean, it just at a certain point, you just got to play the people you can play. And if you feel like Wallace can be your starting right tackle, it's a valuable position. And if he can give you play that's just as good as Mike Onwenu can at right tackle, and you have a left tackle that can play, then you kick Mike Onwenu inside and you keep him there. He needs a little bit of consistency.
See, I still think you stick with this general format of offensive line for a little bit. Obviously, we don't know what's going on at left guard
next week, but
Michael Jordan's going to get signed to the roster, I assume, to fill the spot left by Okorafor there.
Right.
I think you let Onwenu stick at right tackle for at least the first half of the season for two reasons. One, I think you want to see what he looks like with more practice in this system. Two, I think you want to see Layden Robinson get a chance to fully develop there at right guard, and that gives the opportunity for City So to develop at left guard when he's healthy. And I think if you can see that line of So at left guard, then Andrews, then Robinson, and then Onwenu work together for a full month in the middle of the season, maybe 2 months in the middle of the season and see how the development comes along. It might not be good, but who cares right now? This team isn't good. Like this, trying to figure out what's good for the future. Maybe the only way to get there is by playing the young guys and letting them develop on the field. And then left tackle, Caden Wallace looks good this week. If Vidarian Lowe is out, then maybe you just stick with him. And maybe your line is Wallace, So, Andrews, Robinson, and Wenu, and you ride that for a couple of months. And maybe guys develop, maybe they don't, but you see where you're at. Also, we just had a question in the chat, so I wanted to clarify this. TD asked if the Patriots had DFA'd Okorafor. It's DFA designated for assignment, like the baseball term. No, it was Okorafor who initiated it. So at least what the reporting, as far as we know, he called the team and said that he was going to be walking away, and now he's on the exempt list of some kind. The left squad list is what it's called. So yes. That's the list for players who are under contract, not retired, but not with the team, who have decided to step away. So that was Matt Corral last year when he just stopped showing up to practice or whatever that situation was. That's Okorafor now. As far as I know, this means he can come back and reclaim that roster spot at some point. Like Reese said, he doesn't expect him to. So Mike Reese's expectation, and this was his opinion, he stated, by what he thought was going to happen, was Michael Jordan, guy who started the first 2 games at left guard. So out will take Okorafor's spot on the 53-man roster, and Okorafor might not play in New England again.
Right. Also, Old Man Mom says, I'm going at left tackle. Listen, we all saw it. I passed the conditioning test. I'm good to go. I'll be out there. I'm ready to go. But we'll see. We'll see what happens this week. I mean, I don't know. I'm nervous about it. I think it should make Patriots fans a little nervous where we're at. But you just, this is the way we go. I mean, this is what it is, and that's what we have to deal with right now.
Yeah, and now short week on the road, division rival. Weirder things happen in games like this. The Jets looked far from overwhelming the first 2 weeks of the season. A bad loss to San Francisco, and a very tight road win over the Titans, where the Titans got down near the goal line with a chance to tie the game late in the fourth quarter, but couldn't get in. Will Levis is entertaining. So bad. Entertaining is how I will put him.
In a bad way, as you said, right? In a bad way.
Yeah, he's entertaining, derogatory. But yeah, I mean, that's not a good Titans team right now, and the Jets played them very close on the road. So, it's still a one-possession game. We'll see how that translates to a home primetime game on a short week against a division rival. This can go a lot of different ways Thursday night. I don't know exactly what to expect. I'm sure we'll talk about that, Tuesday night?
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes sense because the game's Thursday.
Sure.
Instead of going back-to-back weeks. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing for post-game yet because I think I'm going to be there. So we'll have to talk about that off-air, Pat.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I think what I assume is going to happen is I'm going to go live, and maybe I'll grab someone to do it with me. But we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see what happens this week, but there's going to be a lot of weeks like this, and I'm just glad the Patriots are in close games with, an offense that's still functional. They still scored 20 points. They had over 300 yards from scrimmage. The running game looked good. Antonio Gibson made a nice play in there. Tight end screen to Hunter Henry. There's some really nice stuff in there. 20 points is the most they've scored at Gillette Stadium since that Bills game last year. Like, this is still better than we saw last year, and even though it's a loss, I'll take a little improvement.
Well, again, I'm going to keep saying this. People are probably sick of it, but I'm going to keep saying this. The Patriots were the Patriots were terrible last year. They were downright unwatchable last year. They had a Monday Night Football game scheduled against the Kansas City Chiefs with Taylor Swift confirmed in the building. They were flexed out of Monday Night Football. Not to Sunday Night Football. Not to Sunday afternoon football at 4:30. But to Sunday at 1 o'clock. Like, that's how bad the Patriots were last year. They were that bad. And so the fact that they even look semi-competent on offense after just one off season of that is a massive improvement. A massive improvement. And do I wish they could have fixed the quarterback, wide receivers, and offensive line all in one off season? I absolutely do. Was it feasible to think that that would be possible? No. I'm sorry. If you thought the Patriots could fix the offensive line, the wide receivers, and the quarterback in one off season, you just don't know anything about building a team. It's not possible. And so
I think it's possible. You have to get so incredibly lucky that getting your hopes up on it is just irresponsible.
Right. And that's kind of the idea, right? Like even the Texans made this huge turnaround last year. That's true. But they only did that because they already had pieces in place. Right? They had the pieces in place to do that. Right? They had the awesome left tackle. They had Nico Collins who couldn't get healthy and finally got healthy and looked great. They drafted Tank Dell and got lucky with him. Right? So it's all of those different things. And then they draft C.J. Stroud and holy crap, it was great. Right? And so, those things happen. But look at the Bears. The Bears signed DeAndre Swift, signed Keenan Allen, draft the number one wide receiver, draft the number one quarterback, already have DJ Moore in their team, drafted, the year before, drafted, what is a good offensive tackle in Darnell Wright. And, oh my God, Jesus Christ, Caleb Williams. But have all those pieces in place, and it still doesn't look good. Right? Caleb Williams just made, it's the perfect rookie pass, the perfect rookie play that shows you everything about Caleb Williams. Darnell Wright got smoked. As I'm literally talking about Darnell Wright being a good offensive tackle, Darnell Wright gets smoked, completely turned around, and Caleb breaks the sack, makes an incredible play, rolls to the right, throws it up into triple coverage, and it gets intercepted. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. It was just it was the perfect play of a rookie quarterback where you're like, what were you thinking throwing that pass, man? So, but anyways, but that's the way it goes. And TD, I will again ask you, TD. I'll again ask you, who did you want them to take in the second round instead of Jalen Polk? Who did you want them to take? Because there's 0 starting left tackles that were drafted in between Jalen Polk and Caden Wallace. 0. 0.0. So who you can say you didn't want them to take a wide receiver in the second round. Tell me what the other option was. Tell me the player you wanted. And then we can have a conversation. So, anyways.
One final bit here before we log off. They better not use this loss as an excuse to go back to the navy blue pants.
Oh, God.
They look so good today.
They did, didn't they?
This is how the Patriots are supposed to look.
Yes.
And I hope
you're right.
Fans have been very active on social media about how much they like this look compared to the others. I hope that they are listening to this. Because you could take every excuse right now to just say, oh, they lost, we're going back to the navy pants. But they're losing those too. So just give us the uniform that we like better, please.
Right.
The team's not going to be good. At least let them look better.
I just don't understand why you would ever consider going blue on blue. It just, what are we doing? Why are you doing that? Maybe do it once or twice, but I don't know. It just makes no sense to me. I love the silver pants. I think it looks great. It looks a million times better than the blue on blue. But unfortunately, I'm not in charge. And every time they wear the silver pants, they seem to lose at home. But that's not really. You really
Bills
can't.
Game.
That's true. And I will also say, and my buddy Wes pointed this out, and he's 100% right, by the way. Why don't the stripes match? Why can't we match the stripes? What are we doing?
What do you mean? The stripes do match.
No, they don't. The Patriots have this stripe here, and they have this stripe with the navy blue in the middle instead of the yellow, instead of the white in the middle.
Oh yeah, because it's on a light background. There's two versions of the stripe. They use red, blue, red when it's on a light background, and red, white, red when it's on a dark background.
Okay. It's just a little strange to me.
Because
Also-
if you had silver pants with a red, white, red stripe, then there's no navy blue on the pants anywhere, and it looks really weird.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
By the way, I just have to say, TD, you make me laugh so much, dude. It's hysterical. He's been screaming, literally all caps screaming about how the Patriots have to take a left tackle. They screwed up so bad by not taking a left tackle in the second round. Just absolutely terrible. Wolf destroyed it. Absolutely destroyed the team. They suck because of him. And then he said, well, they should have taken Cooper DeJean in the second round. Wait a second. What are you talking about, dude? You make me laugh. I appreciate the laugh. I needed that. I appreciate it. But anyways, so yeah, so that's it. That's all we got. So we're gonna be back Tuesday night, previewing the Thursday night game against the Jets in New Jersey, which hopefully Matt will be at, getting there with game time. So
it's supposed to be rainy, so I'm gonna wait a little bit and see if these ticket prices drop.
Wait till that Thursday morning when it starts raining out.
I like that.
I might. Like, oh man, you know what I mean?
might wait until 5 o'clock when I'm about to leave my apartment and just see what's going on.
That's smart. I like that.
Yeah.
So anyways, all right. So that's it. So thank you for coming through. We appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you on Tuesday night.